Now, 7 people on Monday were shot, killed in Gugulethu. Preliminary reports indicate that 3 women and 4 men were gunned down by unknown group in the township. We now cross to our reporter, senior SABC News reporter Mariska Botha. Mariska, thank you very much for joining us on the agenda. Investigators are still piecing it together. What do we know about what happened yesterday? 7 people killed just like that.
Absolutely, as you say, just like that, 7 people killed. Of course, this is the 3rd mass shooting that we've seen here on the Cape Flats in the last 6 weeks or so. The first was in Khayelitsha, where 6 people were gunned down. 10 people in total were shot there and 4 were injured. And then after that there was Joe Slovo, where 5 people were gunned down. And now this, where 7 people have been killed. We arrived a little while ago on the scene here, and family members are inside the house, obviously very, very distraught. They're having the terrible task of now cleaning the scene of where relatives and friends were gunned down, and they promptly closed the gates to the garage where they were busy cleaning up there. But as you said, a horrible incident, and there's been outrage over this because nobody exactly understands why and how this is happening. But we do have a statement from JP Smith, who's a MACO member for safety and security in the city of Cape Town. I'm just going to read you a little bit of that statement he issued yesterday, and he's calling for urgent intervention from SABC and the criminal justice system to combat extortion and racketeering. Now, Smith continues to say that they know of large-scale extortion that's taking place in places like Khayelitsha and here in Gugulethu, where people are extorted for money for all kinds of different things. Foreign business owners, local business owners, protection money and the sorts. So we don't know if that is linked at all. We only know that unknown gunmen opened fire and killed 7 people. But we've been hearing a lot about this extortion syndicate, if you will, that is operating on the Cape Flats in small pockets around the Cape Flats where this has been going on. So it's definitely something that needs urgent attention from all tiers of government. And that is exactly what JP Smith of the city is calling for. He says also that the Minister of Police, Begitele, promised a steering committee and a task team on this matter. And he says so far there's been nothing forthcoming in relation to extortion syndicates that needs to be investigated and addressed as a matter of urgency. Now, as I've said before, I cannot say definitively that that is the case here, but that is certainly an issue that is or has been arising on the Cape Flats in the last few months.
Yeah. Mariska, we know that 2 other people were taken to the closest medical facilities. Any updates on them so far?
Not as of yet. We don't know their condition at this stage, but we understand it was a hail of gunfire that came down here. So we hope for the best for them and for their families, that they will be okay, but we haven't had an update yet on what their condition is at this stage.
Mariska, maybe let's take a step back. You mentioned extortion, you mentioned protection money within the area of Gugulethu and the Cape Flats. How rife is it? I mean, it boggles the mind that it's something you see in the movies, if I can put it that way, where in American movies you see somebody who runs a shop and you must pay the local gang protection money. Is that what we're speaking about when we speak about protection money and extortion? It's mind-boggling.
It's exactly as you say. It sounds almost absurd, like those 1930s gangster movies where people are extorting others for money. But let me read to you further from JP's statement here, where he says, extortion for protection money from construction site, ECDs, people with backyard accommodation, and even from city facilities. And he says this is well known and documented because people have come forward, especially from the area in Khayelitsha, to say that that is happening now. And you're hearing about this more and more, that extortion money is asked for the strangest things from random people. I even know of an incident of a woman who works as a security guard at a certain institution, who told me that people are now randomly told on the streets, you must pay a certain amount of money to ensure that you travel safely from your home to the taxi rank and back again. Now, she told me this a few weeks ago, and she says this has never happened before. So it is indeed very, very strange, and urgent action is required on this, because something like this could spiral out of control very, very quickly. And as you know, COVID-19 has exacerbated so many issues that already existed before. Poverty is on the rise here, so we don't know if it's linked to that at all, because there's so little money going around, but certainly something is definitely happening. And like I said, JP Smith calling on urgent action from all tiers of government to work together to get that steering committee and task team in place to get to work on this issue.
Yeah. Does Cape Town and JP Smith have the penchant, if, for example, we say bring back the military? We saw what happened when the military were boots down in Cape Town. It was not, it did not go down too well. There were cases where people were saying that the military were a bit too harsh and heavy-handed. Cape Town has always had this issue, in particular with the Cape Flats, or the poorer parts of Cape Town, the Gugulethu, Khayelitsha. Does Cape Town have the penchant once again to say, look, be it as it may, we are not feeling safe, let them come?
Well, it's always difficult to say, but certainly people are feeling very, very uneasy. Every scene that we've visited so far where these mass shootings have taken place, usually there's someone in the community who's willing to speak to you anonymously and say something, what they heard, what they saw. But in this instance, people are just climbing up. They're just not talking. They fear for their lives. Our colleague Chris Mabuya approached the family when we arrived here, and they simply said they are afraid for their lives, and they asked not to be filmed and identified, and subsequently they closed the door to their garage. So people are afraid to speak out in a public forum because they don't know if they will be next. So it's certainly a case of you better shut up, or it sounds harsh, but that is the reality on the ground for many, many people across the Cape Flats at this point in time.
Disturbing information there coming from you, Mariska Botha. Thank you very much indeed for joining us right here on The Agenda. Keep safe, and well, in fact, I think your safety is more important than the story, as long as you come back home to your family as well. Mariska Botha, the SABC News senior reporter, speaking to us from Gugulethu in Cape Town, where 7 people were shot and killed Monday. 2 are in hospital. According to reports, Western Cape organized crime detectives are still on the scene trying to piece together what happened. Mariska there speaking about the fact that there's talks of extortion money, there's talks of safety money being asked by those, they say, implicated in other shootings across the city of Cape Town.